Good evening. You're watching In Your Interest. I am Shweta Kothari. The government has launched a unified pension scheme or UPS, ensuring government employees receive a fixed 50% of their last drawn basic pay as pension. The new initiative will impact approximately 23 lakh government employees and provide financial security and stability for government workers post-retirement. The UPS will be implemented from 1st of April 2025 onward. So what are the key features of UPS? Well, unlike the NPS, which allows for market-linked returns, UPS provides a defined benefit structure guaranteeing a fixed pension amount upon retirement. This makes it more predictable and secure for retirees. With employees contributing 10% of their basic pay and the same under the UPS, the government will increase its contribution from 14% to 18.5%. Now, this is the difference, of course, between the UPS and the NPS. What will be the payout? Well, employees who have served for a minimum of 25 years will receive an assured pension amounting to 50% of their average basic pay over the last 12 months prior to retirement. For those who have served less than 25 years, the pension will be proportionate to their tenure with minimum qualifying service period set at 10 years. One of the major highlights of the UPS is the recalculation of pension based on actual last drawn salary rather than leaving it to the market vagaries. So there is a fixed and a predetermined pension payout at the time of retirement. Even for employees who have completed a minimum of 10 years of service, there is a guaranteed minimum pension of 10,000 rupees per month upon retirement. There are provisions for an assured family pension in case of an unfortunate event of an employee's demise. Their spouse will receive a family pension assured at 60% of the pension that the employee was drawing before their death. Both assured pension for individual and the family pension are subject to inflation indexation. The adjustment ensures that the pensions keep pace with rate of inflation. Additionally, there will be an option for employees to choose between existing national pension scheme and the new unified pension scheme. The unified pension scheme represents a major overhaul of India's pension system, promising higher and more predictable pensions for a large number of government employees and is likely to bring cheers to them. And as we discuss UPS and its key features, joining us on the show is Preeti Chandrasekhar, India business leader, Mercer, a pension actuary. Preeti, I want to first come to you. A lot of people are closely going to be watching this bulletin to understand whether they should be choosing between NPS and UPS. But to lay it out and to make it easier for our viewers to choose between either of the two, at this point, from what's come out of UPS, why should people choose UPS and how is it better than existing NPS?
So there's a basic difference between NPS and UPS. And the basic difference between both of them is NPS was a defined contribution scheme, and the UPS is sort of a mix of a defined benefit and defined contribution scheme. So it is trying to balance between the unsustainability of OPS on one hand from the government standpoint, as well as some kind of a predictability of the income for the employee. So it's really a balance. And that is one key difference. The second difference is obviously because of the fact that, the UPS to some extent would help address the adequacy of the pension amount to the extent that they sort of get an assured income, and they get, which is index linked, and there is also other family income, etc., as a part of the scheme. So to that extent, they will get some kind of predictability. But really, for somebody who is younger, who requires more control over their retirement funds, and wants greater flexibility and has extreme confidence in the Indian equity market, I think can sort of look at NPS also. So it really depends upon an individual's need and circumstance.
All right, but at 50% of the last drawn average basic pay prior to retirement, do the pensions and the pension received by the way of UPS, anywhere more or less than what could come by the way of NPS, depending on how the market has performed? In your assessment, over the course of last 10 years, have the returns from NPS by the way of market fluctuations been greater than 50% of the last drawn basic pay for certain individuals?
So, it is difficult to really draw some kind of a comparison directly, and you really need to look at illustrations at various levels, given the age, given the past service, everything, and, what is the kind of buildup of the corpus for the individual to be able to compare which one is better. But as I said, the UPS says that you need to have put in 10 years of service for you to be eligible for any pension, whereas NPS does not give that kind of a limitation. So in that sense, it's more flexible for the individual, for them to be able to go out in the market and decide on what they want to do. And NPS has also come up with very attractive options of late, like systematic withdrawal plans, etc. So, for you to draw the math, you really need to look at, and as I said, an individual and see how it grows for the individual between the UPS and the NPS.
And Preeti, we've had various viewers writing to us since we started talking about UPS. I want to take one of those questions right now. And some certain individual writes to us on our explanation of UPS, and they say, does government employee who retired in 2015 be covered as in the UPS? So will they be able to, someone who's retired in 2015, will they be able to opt for UPS?
Yes. If you see the details of the notification, the provisions of the UPS will apply to the past retirees of NPS also. So somebody who's retired in 2000. So we are talking about somebody who was under OPS. Is that your question? Or you're talking about
someone who's retired in 2015, ma'am. So I believe they will not be covered under OPS because they've retired post 2004.
No, the rules of OPS were that any person who joins the system after 2004 would not be covered under OPS. People who were already there in the system before 2004, by default, they were covered under OPS. So anybody who's retired in 2015 would typically be a part of the OPS plan and should have been getting pension. Okay, under OPS.
That is if they were employed. That is if they were employed after 2000, before 2004.
Yes, that's correct. So if somebody is retired in 2015, I think we can assume that the person would have joined the service, the government service, before 2004, and hence would have been eligible for OPS. So here, I think it'll be unfair to compare an OPS with a UPS. I think what we need to look at is compare a UPS with an NPS. And for somebody who is eligible, who has retired, past retiree under NPS would also be eligible, provided they pay arrears for the past period with interest at the PPF rate. So that is what the scheme rules say.
All right. So if for the benefit of our viewers who is eligible for UPS therein, we understand that it will be implemented from 1st of April 2025 onward. Who are the people who are eligible for UPS?
There are two sets of people who have joined after 1st April 2004 and were a part of NPS or have been a part of NPS right now as we speak, who are still actively employed. That is one category of people who will be eligible for UPS, provided they opt for it. The second category of people is people for some reason who had joined post 2004 but retired or moved out or superannuated as of date, would also be eligible for UPS, provided they pay the past service amount, the contribution, with interest. Okay, that's the second category. Third category is the set of people who would be joining post 1st April 2025 would also be getting a choice between an NPS and a UPS. So these are the three categories of people that we can look at.
All right. We are, of course, discussing the unified pension scheme, the details of which were unveiled on Saturday. Preeti, stay with us. We'll be back after a very short break. We are discussing the unified pension scheme, trying to compare it to NPS, the National Pension Scheme, and obviously the much contested old pension scheme, which many states have so far rallied to bring back. The government seems to have buckled under pressure. The new scheme is likely to cost the government about 6,000 crore rupees. Is it economically viable? We'll be discussing all of that after this very short break. Welcome back. You're watching In Your Interest. I'm Shweta Kothari. Should one choose UPS and why? Well, choosing between NPS and UPS will have to be an individual choice. Both will coexist, at least for now. Employees covered under the NPS will have the option to switch to UPS or stay with the NPS or the National Pension Scheme. The subscribers of NPS need to carefully evaluate their retirement needs and benefits offered by both schemes before making a decision. While the NPS provides a defined contribution plan with varying returns based on market performance, the UPS offers a defined benefit plan with assured minimum pension and inflation protection. But if you do make the switch, can you go back from UPS to NPS later? No. Once you choose UPS, you cannot switch back to NPS. According to the government, existing NPS and VRS employees and future employees will have the option of joining UPS. However, once they exercise that choice, it will be final. So, should you then opt for UPS? According to government, more than 99% of employees will be better off switching to the new scheme. Under NPS, a portion of the fund must be invested in an annuity after retirement. However, since annuity rates in India are low, achieving a 50% return on investment requires a substantial corpus. The guaranteed 50% pension under UPS is therefore a safer alternative. The Unified Pension Scheme presents a valuable option for government employees seeking a stable and guaranteed retirement income. Those currently under the NPS should consider their long-term financial security and retirement plans when choosing between the two schemes. So, Preeti, from what we know so far, these two schemes will coexist and people will have the right and the opportunity to make a choice. What exactly is government trying to achieve through this? And would it be right at this point, now that we know that this is going to cost government to the tune of about 6,250 crore rupees, can we now say the government seem to have buckled under pressure of bringing back the old scheme but not doing so, therefore coming up with an alternative which is contributory in nature but also dents the government coffers?
Which is a fair point. So there are two things I would like to address over here. If you look at the government, the issue with the OPS was the real unsustainability of the entire scheme. And hence they switched over to NPS because the world over, governments as well as companies are moving from a defined benefit format to a defined contribution format. However, there was a lot of pressure on the government for them to come up with something, which is akin to the OPS. They obviously wouldn't have, it would have just not made sense to go back to OPS because of the issues and challenges they were facing. So this is almost like a balancing act in that sense, right? So here what they're saying is that you pick up some features of the OPS, yet make it contributory, and hence make sure that this becomes more sustainable. You see, the sustainability of the entire pension scheme is a very, very big challenge for any plan sponsor, specifically from a defined benefits perspective. So what the government is really saying is that, this is, I would say, more modern in that sense as compared to the OPS. Because they are talking about contribution both from the employee as well as the government. The government is saying that
Preeti,
they are
10% contribution and drawing up to 50% of your basic pay at the time of retirement is a very lucrative offer at that. And I want to therefore understand from you that is it sustainable, since OPS was done away with on the merits that it wasn't sustainable. It was a heavy duty offering from the government and it was denting its coffers at the rate at which government is promising a fixed return of 50%. Do you believe that this is sustainable?
It would be sustainable provided there are certain things that are put in place. So to answer your question, I'm pretty sure, and based on what we have heard, there has been a detailed actuarial analysis done to be able to arrive at this kind of a scheme design. So you would have sort of worked around the adequacy of pension from an employee standpoint, also making sure that it is sustainable in the long run. And hence, if you see, there is a separate fund out of the 18.5 that you're talking about. 8.5 will go to a contingent fund, the purpose of which is to meet any shortfall that could possibly arise if there is a gap between the corpus and what the government has committed to. So there's been a thought process involved where they're actually setting aside this money. So the extent to which it is sustainable depends upon how this corpus is managed. And really, a strong governance would be required around the investment of the funds, especially the guaranteed reserve fund that I'm talking about, the 8.5%, to ensure sustainability, because you're talking about a long commitment, right? A long duration commitment. So somebody who's 60 right now is expected to live another 20 years. And somebody who is maybe in the 40s or 50s would perhaps be expected to live longer post-retirement. That's the kind of longevity we are all looking at. So you really need a more current investment strategy to minimize the sustainability risk for the government. And hence, we will have to move away from archaic investment norms and just get more current, modern, and look at global best practices to be able to choose the right kind of investments, have the right kind of investment framework, a strategy, etc.
All right. Before we let you go, there is also a question that everybody is asking. How's the Unified Pension Scheme any different from existing pension scheme? Does the Unified Pension Scheme take from the National Pension Scheme and the much debated old pension scheme? Which is it more closer to? Here's how. UPS is an amalgamation of NPS and OPS. Under the UPS scheme, an employee must contribute a share to the pension fund similar to an employee contributing to the national pension system. The contribution amounts to 10% of the basic pay, and the government will also contribute 18.5% compared to the previous 14% under national pension scheme. In the OPS or the old pension scheme, employee did not make any contribution. There is a difference with respect to pension calculation. The old pension scheme or the OPS and the unified pension scheme have different ways to calculate pension amount. Under the old scheme, the assured pension was fixed at 50% of the last base salary plus dearness allowance. Compared it to the new scheme or the UPS, the assured pension in the UPS will be the average basic salary plus the DA drawn in the previous year before superannuation. However, in UPS, indexation of inflation will be applied to the minimum pension amount and adjusted to All India Consumer Price Index or the CPI inflation. Higher minimum pension in the UPS. The UPS also guarantees minimum pension offered per month at 10,000 rupees at the time of retirement at the end of 10-year minimum service. And the present minimum amount under NPS is 9,000 after 10-year minimum service period. The UPS, there is also a lump sum provision for payments offered at the time of superannuation. It will be calculated as 1/10 of the monthly salary plus DA as on the date of superannuation for every 6 months of service completed. It will not reduce the quantum of pension, unlike under the OPS, which enables the lump sum to be taken at retirement through commutation of pension, which is reduced from the pension amount. The new unified pension scheme therefore offers a combination of benefits and combined elements from both old pension scheme and the national pension scheme, or as we popularly call it, the new pension scheme. From the OPS and the UPS, UPS takes the features such as assured pension, inflation indexation, family pension and a minimum monthly pension. These aspects provide a sense of security and stability to members post-retirement. Additionally, UPS also adopts key feature from the NPS, which is its contributory nature, fully funded scheme. This ensures that members have the opportunity to contribute towards their pension fund, leading to a more personalized and potentially higher pension payout upon retirement. That is, of course, the difference between the UPS, the existing NPS, and of course, the OPS. Preeti, before I let you go, I think one of the questions, and we've come back to it, one of the questions that I asked you at the very beginning, if one were to now look at, which pension scheme to really opt for, does it stand to benefit that one should now go for UPS because you're getting a fixed income and you're only paying 10% as contribution?
As I said before, it depends upon your personal circumstances. So
okay,
just to sort of decode it, depends upon how many years of service you have left in the government. And if you have more number of years of service, let's say somebody's in their 20s and 30s, then NPS might be a better option because you would perhaps have another, 20 to 30 years to go before retirement. For you to get a full pension, you need to have served for 25 years. But somebody who's senior in age, nearing retirement, would perhaps be better off going for UPS because it gives them a more predictable, immediate, high monthly pension, and which is also inflation adjusted. It is not as high as what you would have got in OPS. As you rightly pointed out, OPS has basic plus DA, whereas UPS only talks about the basic. So if you are at a point
there is no DA, Preeti, just to quickly clarify on that aspect, there is no DA. So there is indexation with respect to inflation, which is not equivalent to DA. Will it be lower than DA?
No, it will not be. See, I'll tell you, if I were to retire, let's say on 30th September this year, and I have, let's say, about a lakh of rupees as basic, and the DA could be in the typical government setup could anywhere be between, let's say, 60 to 70% of the basic would be DA till such time that the pay commissions merge them into the basic. So that's why I said depends on the circumstance. If I were to retire at a time when the pay commission discussions were pending, I would perhaps get my pension only on 1 lakh rupees. Whereas if someone was close to when the DA merges with the basic as a result of the pay commission recommendations, then that person would perhaps be, better off by 75,000 more as compared to what I would have, based on which a pension is calculated. So that's a key difference we have to understand.
Absolutely.
This is indexed after you start getting the pension. But is the DA index combined with the basic while the pension, if base pension is calculated? The answer is no under UPS.
All right. So there you have it, all detailed analysis on what UPS has to offer compared to NPS. Preeti Chandrasekhar, thank you very much for taking time out, ma'am. Thank you for joining us to clarify all those viewers' queries as far as UPS is concerned. The government has finally come out with a new comprehensive unified pension scheme in form of UPS, which many say is more akin to old pension scheme, except that you will have to contribute 10% of your basic pay, and there is a contributory factor to what you will draw as pension. This is especially for government employees, 23 lakh of which will be affected by the new pension scheme, and the UPS, of course, which was announced by the government this Saturday. And with that, we've run out of time on this show. Thank you very much for watching.